I graduated from London College of Fashion in 2006, I tried to get a job, anything that was to do with millinery or the creative arts in any way. So one of my jobs was working as a dresser for the English National Ballet. I worked there for 5 years on and off at Christmas and in the summer, working on all sorts of different performances, dressing the dancers, getting to see what all of the different costumes and headwear were like. So that was amazing, and I think the elegance of the ballet still kind of inspires some of my work now. I was a bespoke biscuit icer for a while, hand icing beautiful biscuits. I was a freelance prototyper for a product design company in London called IDEO. That was amazing, so I got to see what it was like prototyping products that are going to be made for the mass market. So obviously that was very different from working for the theatre, but also design. After that I worked on a musical theatre called the Blood Brothers. Again, quite a change, doing dressing again, so that was so much fun. I worked for a very, very talented milliner called Justin Smith, who lived in Soho at the time, and he's now gone on to really great things and teaches at the Royal College of Art as well. So working with him was fantastic. There's probably loads more things that I've done. Oh, I worked in a fabric shop in Soho for a while. All of these different things have kind of given me an overall experience. Still now, I take things from each job that I've had and sort of take it with me in my work that I do now. So all of this time, after I'd graduated, was kind of like when the recession hit, so it was quite difficult to get a long-term job and like pin something down for a long period of time. So after a few years of chopping and changing freelance jobs, I decided that I wanted to go travelling, because I'd gone straight from college to university and then work, so I hadn't you know, done that travelling thing like all my friends had done. So I decided to go to Southeast Asia, but first I had to move back to Cornwall to save up some money to go. So I worked in a fabric shop again for quite a long time to save up money. Had an amazing time in Thailand. Whilst I was there, I managed to fit in a bit of research as well, do lots of sketches to do with anything that inspired me in Thailand, the flowers, the temples, the colours. And I went to a silk factory as well to see how silk was produced, so that was really inspiring. So when I was staying in Bangkok with my friend, I was really inspired by him because he was setting up his own business. And when I came back to England, I was trying to decide whether to go back to London or stay in Cornwall. I knew I wanted to have my own studio and set up my own millinery business, but I also knew that I'd struggle paying for my rent and paying for my studio rent in London. So I decided to stay in Cornwall, and I moved in with my parents, and I started making hats from my bedroom for customers that came from the fabric shop. So I had my job at the fabric shop. I was working from my bedroom at my parents' house, and slowly I started to build up more and more customers, and then eventually I got a studio at the Old Bakery Studios in Truro, and it was just amazing having my own space. It was very small, quite dark, quite cold, but it was my space and my customers could come see me there, and it just started to grow. It took a lot of time, a lot of patience. I was very lucky in that I did quite a lot of free business courses, because at the time Cornwall had quite a lot of European Objective 1 funding, which helped small businesses get off the ground. So I was kind of at the right place at the right time. So I benefited from those free courses, and I also got a mentor and a loan from the Prince's Trust. So I spent the money on setting up my first website. My mentor was so helpful because he had come from a very, very different background, but he was very business orientated, and I hadn't had any training in business whatsoever. I just wanted to make pretty things. So, well, this past 6 years really, I've been learning how to make something creative be sellable, that people want it, that people are going to pay a certain price for it, that money is going to support you and pay for your rent and all the materials and all the things that you need to pay for. So that in itself has been a huge learning experience, and the Prince's Trust definitely helped me at the very early stages of my business. And I know that I can still contact my mentor now if I need to, even though I was only supposed to have him for 2 years. So whilst I was building up my business in the earlier years, naturally I'd be quite quiet in the winter because of less weddings and occasions that you would wear bespoke headwear. So I wrote to Philip Tracy to see if I could do some work experience in the winter, and they ended up offering me a job. So obviously I couldn't really turn that down. So I went and worked at Philip Tracy's during Paris Couture Fashion Week, leading on to London Fashion Week, and we were making headdresses for very famous people and pop stars and the likes and the royal families. It was amazing to see how a busy workroom operated at that high level. I learnt a lot of new skills, but also the most important thing I got out of it was I learnt that I was more skilled than I had realised, because I think as a creative person you're always criticising yourself, putting yourself down, but I realised that I was actually okay at doing millinery, and I was quite good. Not better in any way than anyone that was working there, because everyone was so incredibly talented, but I realised that I was a certain level as well. I still wanted to have my own business deep down, so I ended up leaving Philip Tracy's, but gaining so much more knowledge and kind of confidence in my own abilities. Whilst I was there, I met an amazing German friend who put me in touch with Jane Taylor a few months later, and I ended up doing some freelance work with Jane during Ascot, and that was a completely different experience again. Jane's very much a rising star, and seeing her journey, not too dissimilar from mine really, and how she's worked her way up, how she's been determined, how she's been a good businesswoman, and her designs are incredible. So I feel very lucky to have worked with her, and I still keep in touch with her now.